Part 7, the sacred journey home and continuous evolution. After thousands of pages of complex theory in My Big Toe, Campbell boils it down to this: we are here to grow up in love. It means that the fundamental reason we incarnate in this reality is to evolve and mature spiritually and consciously, because the thing that matters the most in the end is our quality of consciousness when we die, aka how far we have grown up. This growth is not just intellectual, but experiential and moral. And to do that, we need to change at the being level. Because it's easy to say, I believe in love and compassion, while still acting from fear, selfishness, or judgment when the pressure is on. Real transformation happens when you're tested in the fire of actual relationships and social situations. When someone yells at you at the store, when your partner disappoints you, when a coworker takes credit for your work. Those moments reveal who you really are versus who you think you are. And there where genuine growth occurs through choosing love-based responses, even when every fiber of your ego wants to choose fear-based ones. But boy, that is rough though, isn't it? That again is why those who conquer this game are called masters. Campbell often reminds us, if life were a school as we know it, with a PhD marking the top place to reach, then the human race is currently in kindergarten in terms of consciousness evolution. That's because paradigm shifts take time. While we've made significant strides in our evolution in love is accelerating faster than ever before, humanity is still far from graduate school stage, according to Campbell, where everyone loves and respects each other unconditionally. In such a utopia, there'd be no need for prisons, laws, or locked doors, as people would no longer operate from ego-driven, fear-based decisions. This is the quote unquote vision the LCS aspires to evolve toward with a new Earth. We explore that utopia more in depth in a later chapter. Look at slavery, which took centuries of slow changes before it was abolished in most societies. We've also come a long way from murdering every tribe we came across, which is preschool. But we are still responsible for the murder of an estimated 464,000 people each year. Consider the ongoing struggles against human trafficking, which persist despite global efforts to combat this heinous crime. We continue to steal from one another, fearmonger through sensationalized news, and racism remains prevalent. These issues reflect our ongoing struggle to evolve from a mindset of fear to one of unconditional love and understanding. This gradual progression suggests an intelligent design behind our learning process, and Newton's Journey of Souls provides experiential evidence for this design through thousands of hypnotic regression cases. Newton, as well as Campbell and many of my mentors, discovered that souls describe choosing their specific incarnations intentionally, stating, souls choose their life circumstances, including challenges and hardships, to learn specific lessons and progress spiritually. Newton's research reveals that in the spirit world between lives, souls review their past lives, process emotions and lessons, and plan and prepare for the next incarnation. Newton's cases consistently show souls acknowledging their role in choosing life circumstances, even difficult ones, for specific learning purposes, like my sister Aubrey did with heroin addiction, or with me needing to learn how to awaken from the heart and not just the mind, which is something Barry told me was a major lesson of mine this time around. Just as my heart chakra was exploding in session with him and knowings of his words came crashing into my system. The spirit world operates with what Newton calls unconditional love and acceptance, where all experiences are valued for their contribution to soul growth without an ounce of judgment, something you hear consistently in NDEs. When we're in pain, we can say, I'm so grateful for this lesson. This is an opportunity for me to practice grace, acceptance, and offer unconditional love yet again. How are we supposed to learn in the hardest game in the universe if we aren't given some of the hardest tests? We see this throughout all of life. The greatest rewards come from the greatest challenges when we look back on them. As mentioned before, but these examples are worth reiterating, growth requires resistance, just like muscles need weight to develop strength, or how a couple's deepest intimacy often emerges after surviving the most difficult conflicts together. or how entrepreneurs who build the most meaningful companies are usually those who face rejection, failure, and near bankruptcy multiple times, developing resilience, wisdom, and genuine empathy for their customers' struggles along the way. Suich remind us that even the quote unquote nastiest and most quote unquote evil of humans are still hardcore, infinitely loving souls trying to navigate this hard reality as best they can under the veil. They just get sidetracked or mentally deranged given the immensity and sheer volume of variables down here, sometimes spiraling out of control. Pedophiles, for instance, are often quote unquote damaged souls carrying intense past life samskaras coupled with early life intense traumas that are seeking the innocence they can't find in judgmental adults, he said. Society needs to protect children while understanding these people need therapy, not demonization, Suich said. Remember, God is love, and love is all there is, meaning even the evil is from the divine, a necessary polarity to love in this insanely hard game, which again is why eternal damnation makes no sense. The LCS, Campbell says, gains nothing from punishing or even quote unquote deleting the worst of humans, like Hitler, since they too were born into a unique set of circumstances that made them the way that they are. And any one of us would likely have made the same choices if we had their upbringing, their karma, their DNA, their circumstances, and their abilities. What the LCS does do during a life review is set them up for better circumstances to incarnate and have improved odds on the probability distribution at mastering the game, albeit to significant karma, albeit with significant karma to work through in the next lifetime. In the life between lives, the soul has a rest period to recuperate from its rough experience on Earth, then collaborates with guides to design the next incarnation. This planning involves selecting circumstances, challenges, and relationships that will provide the best opportunities for learning and lowering entropy based on lessons it either didn't master last time or new ones it has yet to conquer. That could mean more loving parents, being born in a peaceful country instead of one torn by war, or having access to education and mentors who can guide them toward wisdom rather than destruction. Guidance from higher levels of consciousness or the LCS itself can be understood as working with spirit guides, guardian angels, or members of our assigned spirit family, to name a few. That's how the LCS grows, through patient, intelligent design rather than reprimand. It's like a teacher who doesn't expel the struggling student, but instead places them in a smaller classroom with more support, additional resources, and circumstances that maximizes their chance of success. A soul who was a brutal dictator might return as someone born into poverty who learns compassion through suffering, or into a family of healers who model service to others, gradually shifting their quality of consciousness from domination to love across multiple lifetimes until they finally get it, aka grow up or awaken. Can't you feel how much more loving that is than a God of anger and admonishment? Emotions and ideas that we've projected onto the divine from our own limitations. This system operates from pure intelligence and compassion, recognizing that consciousness naturally evolves toward love when given the right conditions and enough time. There's no vindictive deity keeping score or demanding retribution, just an infinitely patient learning system designed to help every soul eventually find their way home to truth. Furthermore, Campbell explains the life between lives as a transitional phase where the soul exists after death and before reincarnation. According to Campbell, when the physical body dies, the information and quality of consciousness that constitutes that person, including memories, emotions, and experiences, is preserved and accessible, but the soul itself is immortal and continues beyond the physical form. This is what the teachings in my mentors meant by saying, we were never born and we never die. Additionally, Dr. Hawkins mapped out levels of consciousness on a scale from 1 to 1,000, where 1,000 represents enlightenment, Buddhahood, unity with the Tao, and other terms or states of ultimate spiritual realization. While this scale is simply a human attempt to quantify the unquantifiable, It provides a useful framework for understanding the levels of the soul expansion game. According to several of my mentors, the average lifetime yields about 2 points of growth when lived well, though spiritual transmissions can dramatically accelerate that process, with some individuals jumping 10 or even hundreds of points in one lifetime. Gareth has seen as much as 20 points up leveled from just one one-on-one session with him. Modern day sage Dev Mindo has also claimed to have similar results with his work. There are numerous others that can help you up level as well. It's important to note that if we died as a 740, for example, we are born again as a 740. We don't lose anything we've gained or didn't gain in consciousness. This is why some people are old souls and will find a teacher or be on the spiritual path again in the next lifetime. Think about those children who seem wise beyond their years, naturally gravitating towards meditation or philosophy, while their peers are obsessed with video games and social media. Or adults who immediately recognize spiritual truth when they encounter it, as if they're remembering something they already knew rather than learning it for the first time again. These old souls aren't starting from scratch. They're continuing their education from where they left off in previous lifetimes. They've already done the hard work of moving beyond basic survival fears and ego-driven patterns, so they can jump straight into advanced coursework like unconditional love, service to others, and understanding the nature of reality itself. It's why I, like my mentors, always felt vastly different from others my entire life, right from the beginning. Many people on Earth are operating at 250 or less. Yet I was unknowingly walking around as an 800 as a kid, let's say. That gap in consciousness creates a profound sense of not belonging in a world that seems to function on completely different principles and priorities, and is the story of all my mentors and so many masters and seekers before them. This explains why non-duality hit me like spiritual crack cocaine the moment Chris mentioned it, while others encounter the same teachings and react like they've just been offered kale smoothies, either completely dismissive or willing to try one sip before declaring, it's not for me. Once I began the journey, I found dozens of high-level mentors and healers so quickly, and they were drawn to work with me, not because I was special, but because I was ready, and they saw that. Old souls recognize each other and naturally gravitate toward the level of teaching and healing that matches their current development, while newer souls aren't yet mentally prepared to accept and stick with advanced concepts or consistent higher energy work and need to focus on more foundational lessons first, if they don't jump ship right away, that is. Furthermore, we all must go back through the veil of ignorance, our mandatory forgetting once more, when we incarnate again. But old souls find their way back to truth at some point every time, usually through the right teacher who is divinely orchestrated into their life. Gareth, for example, was a dedicated servant to a living avatar of the Divine Mother in his previous life, one of the most spiritually awakened and advanced humans of the 20th century, which explains his rapid awakening this time around as he was simply remembering rather than learning from scratch again. Ultimately, life on Earth becomes a sacred, infinitely arduous journey of self-discovery, free will, and relationship, designed to lead all consciousness back to the realization of oneness, to our true being, while having fully explored the magnificent and not so magnificent possibilities of individual experience. Or, as enlightened spiritual teacher R.J. Spina puts it, life is a multi-frequential, multi-dimensional hall of mirrors designed for self-mastery. Every challenge, every joy, every heartbreak, and every triumph is simply consciousness exploring itself through you. And what an absolutely marvelous exploration it is.